Hey everybody, I'm back today with another episode of Rediscover Your Stamps. This is a video series that I do with the amazing Hiba. We are going to be using this adorable coffee stamp set from Altenew. I'm just pointing out some of the stamps I really like and some of the stamps I want to work with. I'm going to be documenting these two photos. We're going to start by cutting down 2 sheets of Basil Coconut Swirl cardstock. This cardstock is really lovely cardstock. It's my favorite. I am going to be working kind of out of my traveler's notebook and then putting these pages back in because I'm going to do some mixed media techniques and some inking techniques, and we're going to play a little bit with these papers. They are actually going to end up being kind of like the show-stopping part of our traveler's notebook spread today. I'm going to start by doing some stamping. I want to create a couple of my own embellishments for this layout using this stamp set. And I'm also going to use some of these as my title, and I'm going to create a journaling block. So this stamp set that we're working with today is all about coffee. It is called the Coffee Love stamp set from Altenew. And there are 2 phrases on this stamp set. One says, coffee when your brain needs a hug. And the other one says, love you more than coffee. And those 2 are going to act, that love you more than coffee, I think is really the one that's going to act as my title. And then kind of as a subtitle or as another little embellishment on my page, I'm going to use the one that says coffee when your brain needs a hug. I am stamping using some Distress Oxide ink in ground espresso because perfection. And the other stamp set I'm using, the other ink I'm using is this deep, dark, gorgeous, luscious brown from Catherine Polar. It is called Icing on the Cake. I'm using my Misty so I can get really nice, crisp, clean impressions on these little panels. And then the last little bit of stamping I want to do is I want to create a journaling card or a place to add a bit of journaling on my spread. This stamp set that I'm using is crazy old. It was actually a freebie that I got at a retreat. It was on one of those giveaway tables, and it is a staple. I use it all the time in my scrapbook room. I have no clue who made it, where it came from. I just know it's an awesome stamp that has lines on it, and they're like the perfect size to add just a little bit of journaling to a spread. Okay, next we're gonna ink blend. I'm gonna start by thinking that I'm gonna ink blend with my Misty, but I end up not. I guess I could have, but at the end, I just grabbed this little craft mat. So I am ink blending the papers with that icing on the cake ink. And what I'm doing is I'm loading up my brush really pretty heavily. I'm starting at the edge and working my way in. And then once I've gone all around the edges, I'm going to take just the leftover ink that's on the brush. I'm not going to go back in for more ink. Once I have the edges done, just a second. I thought I ink blended faster than this. But once I have the edges nice in the way I want them, I'm just going to take the leftover ink that's on the brush and then go over the entire panel so that I end up with darker ink on the outside edges, lighter ink on the inside, and a nice smooth blend. When you blend with Catherine Polar inks, you always get a little bit of splotchiness, and then as the ink soaks into the paper, it smooths out. So while it might look a little splotchy right now as I'm doing it, when I'm all finished and I let them kind of sit and let the ink soak into the paper, everything smooths out and looks really nice. So you can see here, just taking that extra ink that's on my brush and using it to do the middle, not going back in for more ink. Now I'm going to come in with all of these adorable stamped images. So I am going to go ahead and place as many of these stamps as I want all around the edge of my paper. I am going to let them kind of fall off the edge of the paper. I'm going to use as many as I can, and because I'm using a MISTI, I can stamp most of this paper in like one go. So it's really awesome. So I'm taking as many of these stamps as I can, placing them around the edges. Once I have all of those stamps in place, I'm going to grab them with my MISTI Door, ink them up using the Distress Oxide ink in Ground Espresso, and stamp all those stamps all at once. Reason 285,000 why I love my MISTI. Both of them. So once I have those initial stamps done, now I can pull the stamps up, move them to different areas that are open on my page, stamp them again, and I have a beautiful pattern paper ready to go. Now I did 2 of these. I only did the first one on camera. I didn't do the second one on camera. So because there's still 2 more steps to these papers, and I didn't want my video to become ungainly, I guess, or like just really long. I wanted to add some more coffee beans to my papers. So what I'm doing here is I just grabbed an acrylic block. I am using a piece of scratch paper to kind of stamp off the coffee beans, so I'm getting a second or even a third generation stamp, and then I am using that second or third generation stamping to kind of round out my design so that it looks like it's part of the background and everything is playing nice together. We don't have the background and then those stark images. There's something kind of in that in-between tone that's adding interest to my paper. Since I stamped everything with Distress Oxide ink, I wanted to add a little bit of that kind of blotchy watermark look. So I'm spritzing my panel with some water, kind of going in and coming in with something to kind of soak up some of the excess water. Now we have a little bit of those kind of watermarked looks. And then I went and did the second paper off camera. And now we can go ahead and get to work on our spread. I'm going to start with a lot of matting. So I am going to mat this little journaling spot that I created. I'm going to mat both of those stamped sentiments from the stamp set. And I'm going to mat both of my photos. I am matting them so that they will pop off of my background. So I'm going to mat them in, I'm going to mat the journaling and the stamped images with some dark chocolate brown cardstock. And then I'm going to mat everything again with white cardstock. So these, both my photos and then those other elements are going to be, have a little bit of dimension because they're going to have 2 layers of paper under them. And I'm not worried about bulk in my book because I use traveler's notebooks from Rock Your Notebook. The traveler's notebooks, her best traveler's notebooks are hand-stitched. They're really durable. You can make them a chunky monkey and they are totally fine. So I am not worried at all about bulking my notebooks up. I know I can do it. So let's get these elements onto my pages. I'm going to fiddle with them a little bit. While I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about my photos. So my photos are, and the story I'm going to tell is, over this summer, my youngest son and I have put together a coffee bar in my craft room. My craft room is a dual purpose room, so I have all my scrapbook stuff and all of that in this room, but also Logan, who is 16, he does all of his schoolwork in this room as well, and he loves coffee. He is very into like making coffee from a French press, and he has all the little like accoutrements. for doing that. And then we also have a cappuccino machine. So we created a coffee bar in our craft/school room. We have everything. We have a mini fridge with all of like the creamers and stuff. We have our cappuccino machine, an electric tea kettle, the coffee grinder, like all the things. We have little cups. We have a little coffee bar stand. So I am talking and journaling about that experience, us putting this together, and how much we like it and how convenient it is. It's pretty awesome. So I wanted these stamped kind of panels that I made to look like they're hanging off of my Traveler's Notebook spread. So what I did was I used my white gel pens to go ahead and hand draw these little, they look like strings that are kind of like hanging, almost like we have two little signs hanging from our Traveler's Notebook page. I have two white gel pens that I love and use regularly. One of them is a Jelly Roll pen. The point size is 10, and these are bold Jelly Roll pens. And then I also have one from Arteza that is a 0.8 white gel pen. Those are my favorites. And when you are using white gel pens on top of an ink blended background, sometimes the ink will get activated and go up into the roller. So keep a black scratch paper close by and have more than one pen so that you can kind of do a little bit of drawing, or add a little bit of white detail and then kind of roll it off onto another piece of scratch paper. And another thing is that with both of my Jelly Roll pens, I don't know if this is everybody's Jelly Roll pens, but both of my Jelly Roll pens, when I use them, I feel like they don't look bright and white and visible until they are completely dry, and then they really do look bright and white and visible. And that's how we're going to finish this spread off. It really did not need anything else other than the journaling, which I have added and is in the close-ups. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to head over and check out Hibba's page using this exact same stamp set. I'm sure she has something super fun and amazing to share with you. I will see you all again very soon, actually later today. So talk to you again. Bye.